I'm Ashton Addison from WanChain for Investment Pitch Media and the Crypto Coin Show. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Mikele Penna, the CMO of FinNexus. Mikele, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time to be here.
Hi, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Mikele, I know your team is working on some really interesting things in the DeFi space right now with FinNexus. So if you could just kick off the interview with a high-level overview and the focus of FinNexus and the platform, that would be lovely.
So FinNexus was launched in 2019 originally, but it really came online. I mean, we started our operations only last year, basically. And we are, at the moment, where we are is mostly an option platform. But in general, our aim is to become what you could define as a cluster of different protocols that will operate on multiple chains, on multiple layers, and will cover a variety of financial instruments. So the FPO, the FinNexus Protocol for Options, which is the one that is live right now on WanChain, on Ethereum, and on BSC, is only the first of a series of products that we're launching. But at the moment, of course, we are mostly a platform for staking and mining and for trading options. What I think, when you look at FinNexus, what you realize, and what we thought when we launched it, is that I mean, if you look out there, right, you have an enormous market for options, both for professional investors and for retailers. And, you know, I think I read this on The Economist. Last year in the American market was like 30 million USD of options were exchanged every day on average. It's an enormous amount, of course. And only a tiny fraction of that is in crypto. And only an even smaller fraction of that is in DeFi. So when we launched, we thought, option is there going to be such a big thing? I mean, it's such a big thing in retail, in traditional finance right now. It could well become in crypto. So that's what we're doing at the moment.
Definitely. And options, as you said, is so huge. And it's funny because I've been following the blockchain space for more than a few years now, and I really haven't seen that much about options, especially in DeFi. And I'm curious as to why. I'm not sure if it's just harder to do or it just wasn't ready for the market at that level of maturity yet. Is there a timing to this where now we're introducing options into crypto to bring it to more mainstream?
Well, we at FinNexus definitely believe that it's the right timing, it's the right moment. But I think what you were saying is really right. Options are a very powerful, very flexible instrument, but they're also relatively complicated. The downside of creating an option platform is that, especially when you look at retailers, is that many people do not fully understand how to trade options. They're more complicated. Like if you're going to CeFi and you're trading futures or swaps, right? That's pretty straightforward. You have to manage the margin. You have to be concerned about liquidation, but it's not that difficult. Instead, options are often used in more complicated strategies. And I think that's the reason why they haven't entered crypto so massively yet, why, especially in DeFi, you don't see that many platforms. But there is us. There are a couple of platforms that are doing it, and I definitely think that they're going to become bigger. I think, look, there is no reason. If people trade them in legacy finance, why wouldn't they want to trade them in DeFi and in crypto?
Definitely. And can you just explain a little bit deeper into how the options and also the pooled liquidity works on FinNexus? And is it available for only a restricted amount of assets, or is it quite wide?
It's quite wide. So the system we call MASP, the multi-asset single pool liquidity system, it's really the core of Nexus, and is one of the things that I think make our platform special compared to others. What does it do is that basically you can deposit a variety of assets, USDT, USDC, FNX, which is our own token, of course. At the moment, FRAX as well, the algorithmic stablecoin. We can talk a bit about that because we just launched a pool for that. And what you get is that once you deposit your liquidity, you can then trade options that are based on a number of other assets. We get BTC, we get ETH, we get Link, we get MKR. So it is really flexible. And one of the things that it does is it very efficiently uses the liquidity available. One of the issues that you want to consider when you create an options platform from the perspective of the creators as that you need to create liquidity for every single pair of options. And that is more complicated than doing it in the spot market or even on a future market. What our system does is that it really streamlines and maximizes the efficiency of the liquidity we have in the protocol. And therefore, it ensures a much smoother trading experience for the end user. A third aspect that you want to consider is also that when you're trading options, what happens is that if you sell in options, you have a potential significant downside. So if the market goes against you and you're selling an option, the loss could be huge. Because our liquidity system spreads the premiums and spreads the rewards across all the participants, this is an automatic diversification of risk. And that could be, for someone who's just starting out with options, that could be a significant advantage, I think.
Oh, that's great to know, Michele. And you mentioned at the beginning that you're looking at multi-chain protocols, including not just Ethereum, where the majority of DeFi applications are right now, but also on Binance Smart Chain, and interestingly enough, on WanChain as well. Can you talk about the other chains that you've integrated with, and specifically on WanChain, which seems very unique in the DeFi space? You don't hear that as often, and the decision behind going with these protocols?
So basically, we started out on Ethereum, of course, because it's Ethereum, so you have to be there somehow. And on WanChain. The reason why we are on WanChain is that one of our founder, Boris, is also the co-founder of WanChain. So we are close to their team. We're also personally close, if you like, and that's one of the reasons why we are on WanChain in the first place. We get this question very often, so that is one. We are on Ethereum because, as I said, it's Ethereum, and you have to be there somehow, in spite of gas fees, which are a bit intense at the moment. And then, of course, we just launched on BSC, on the Binance Smart Chain. We have done that because ultimately, I really think it's in our DNA to launch on as many chains as possible, launch as many protocols as possible. We really want to expand. Why BSC in particular? Because basically, first of all, it's a chain that is really hot at the moment. You have a lot of people operating there. You have a lot of capital locked on BSC. So that will make business sense. The second reason is because our community selected it. So we had a vote on whether we should launch a new chain. The community was pretty stoked about it. And then we had a vote whether we should go on Higo Chain or on BSC. And BSC won. And so we did it. The users wanted it. And we've done it.
Definitely. And I think that's a great initiative. And the CEO of Binance himself, CZ, said when he's building Binance, he really just delivers what the customers want, right? And if you can deliver what the customers want, and Jeff Bezos says the same, then your customers will be happy. They'll continue to use the platform. So I think being community driven is super important. And you did mention there that you're looking at getting to as many chains as possible, or at least ones that are going to help build the community and help grow the platform. Do you already have a short list or any collaborations on ideally what chains would work well with FinNexus if you were to continue growing out?
So I think we're kind of keeping this within ourselves, because this is like it's a discussion that we first kind of have to talk to the people of the chain, see what they want, what they like, and then we are going to go to the community and ask them. So I do not have a name specifically that I can mention. But of course, the goal is, again, to launch on as many as possible. As long as there's the capital locked on the chain is acceptable, we are looking to expand, basically. It's just a matter for us. I think for our platform, the biggest issue is not even really finding new things to do, but managing implementing them, because we have too many items and we have only so many people who can do it. So it's mostly a matter of time, really.
Definitely, I know. There's a lot going on. And it's interesting, earlier you mentioned the assets that you can use for the lending protocol, Maker, which is a great asset, and Chainlink and Bitcoin and Ethereum. And you mentioned Frax, the stablecoin. I want to go back to that. And if you could talk about the rationale behind adding that and why that's an important asset on the platform.
So the rationale, if you go a bit backward, you can say it this way. One of the issues, the first challenge you have as any platform, basically, that wants to offer trading services, as What is it? It's to build liquidity. You need total value locked at the beginning, because if you do not have value locked in your protocol, you cannot trade. So the system doesn't work. So what you want to do is you want to tap into as many markets as possible. What we have seen is that algorithmic stablecoins were a really cool idea. They were interesting. They're interesting in their own right, I reckon. We looked at Frax. We thought it had a very good performance, honestly. And so we wanted to tap into the market. We got in touch with the team and we built a relationship, and eventually we built a stable coin pool, which I reckon is the first algorithmic stable coin pool powering a DeFi option platform out there. So it's a first. And so far the pool has been pretty good. So we're quite happy. It was an experiment. We want to bring something new to the community.
Definitely. And that is a good achievement to have. And algorithmically backed stablecoins are something that I think are up and coming. And I've spoken to a few projects that are working on these synthetic assets and something other than just a collateral backed stablecoin. So I think getting that in early in the platform, getting more awareness could be an advantage beyond just having more liquidity. Now, you also mentioned, Michele, about how the FNX token can be used within the platform. And I'm guessing that there's more than just what you mentioned so far. And if you could touch on, the FinNexus token, is there other use cases for it in the ecosystem? And does it help create a sustainable ecosystem for the platform?
Absolutely. So the FNX is in many ways, you could say, the lubricant that makes the engine going on. Without FNX, our platform could not exist. It has a variety of uses. The first one is, of course, it's an asset in its own right. So people like to hodl FNX and hope that the value will go up. It's something you can buy on exchange. We are listed on a number of exchanges. You can buy FNX. It's an investment. The second way in which we use it is basically it powers all of the functions on our platform. So it's a means of exchange. It's a collateral in the pool. It's once you want to cash out from FinNexus, you will cash out in FNX. So it is really what makes the platform work, essentially.
That's great. And you mentioned that the platform is working right now, but you're working on some big updates in the near future here. And I'm curious about the future of FinNexus and some of the major milestones that you're looking to achieve in the next quarter. If you could give us a glimpse into what's coming next for the platform and the community, that would be exciting.
So what we are working on, we already kind of told our community, but we still have to release all the details. We are working on a really cool project. It's called decentralized leverage tokens. And I reckon, as far as I know, this should be the first one to appear in DeFi. So a leverage token, like a bull ETH or a bear ETH, is something that was pioneered by FTX and centralized crypto finance. And essentially is a token that you can buy either a bearish one or a bullish one, but the token will maintain a certain leverage automatically. It's a bit like buying a future, if you like, but you do not have to manage margin. You do not have to manage your collateral. You do not have to worry about liquidation. There are risks associated, of course, but the token itself will manage everything for you. You buy it, and you're going to have a set leverage, which in our case will probably be 3 buy, and the rest is done. So this kind of very innovative product was pioneered by FTX, but we, I think, are going to be probably the first one to do it in DeFi, and we are really pretty excited about it, as you can imagine. One thing that is also interesting to notice is that, if you look at options and you look at the leverage token, right, there are two kind of opposite kind of products in a way, because the options are powerful. They serve a multiple purposes, for instance, an insurance against other investments, but they're also very complicated. So the pro of options is they're powerful and flexible, and the con of options is they're complicated. Now, if you look at the leverage token, instead, is an extremely simple thing to use. And I think in this sense, it will really kind of complement our offer. So we have an FPO, a FinNexus protocol for options, and we're now launching our second protocol. It should be, I reckon it should be out we're already testing it internally. We are probably going to have a public testing down the line for sure, and then maybe a beta version. But in the second quarter of 2021, it will definitely be out. we are working on it. I don't have a deadline. Really, I do not want to tell people it's going to be out next month. But we're trying. And another thing we're also working on that I think is worth mentioning is we would like to introduce more pairs. So at the moment, of course, we have a set of pairs, but we want to introduce new ones based on traditional assets. It could be oil, it could be gold, it could be all sorts of things. Anything can be traded on FinNexus potentially. The reason why we want to do that is because we want to get something new to the community. We want to do something cool, something interesting, something profitable. But also because from a financial perspective, one of the major problems you have in crypto is that assets are heavily correlated. So it's difficult to diversify risk. It would be really good if the same platform could offer traditional pairs based on traditional assets, but traded in a completely decentralized and transparent way, as well as purely crypto assets, because then investors could really diversify their risk. I think it would be very interesting as an offer.
Definitely, Michele. Leveraged decentralized tokens plus something to diversify the portfolio, I think, are both great additions to the platform, in my opinion. And I'm excited to follow along as FinNexus releases those additions. Now, for the viewers, what's the best way for them to get involved with the community, follow along for these updates when they do come out, and start using FinNexus?
So everybody's welcome to join, of course. If you like to invest, come over. If you like to trade especially, come over. But also if you just like to join and follow us, you can do so on Telegram. We have an official Telegram group. You can check out our website, which is finnexus.io, or you can also check us out on Twitter. We are pretty active on all platforms, especially on Telegram and Discord as well. We have a number of community managers always there to answer your questions. Sometimes even the CFO or myself are there. So we're definitely open. What I try to stress, I think, throughout the interview is that we really value the community and their opinion. We try to get them involved as much as they can. So everybody is welcome to join and, share their opinions, tell us what they think, tell us what they like, what they don't like. We are always here.
Great, and I agree, Michele, and thank you for that. I will leave all those links as well in the description box below. All the best with FinNexus moving forward, and let's follow up in the near future.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me today. It was my pleasure, and hope to see you soon again.